Good afternoon to one and all. This video is for class 9th biology. The chapter is the flower. As we all know, we have completed the chapter, the tissues. Now we are going to the next chapter, the flower. So today we are having a hibiscus flower. A hibiscus flower is with us. So to understand the properties of the flower and the structure of it very clearly. It's a bisexual flower. It is having both the stigma over here. You can see, I guess you can see, this is the stigma. This part is the stigma, the red color ones where I am touching with my index finger, and this is the anther. Now, coming to the main part, what is a flower? Flower is a kind of angiosperm. It is present in the angiospermic plants and it is the reproductive organ of a plant. A plant consisting of flower means the plant is having a reproductive organ in it. The plant having flower will go for pollination. It will form the flower as well as fruit also. Now, starting from the base of the flower. So, first of all, when we are trying to know what is flower, let us understand very deeply. So, let us understand with the simplest structure of the flower, that is the calyx. See, this part of the flower is known as the calyx. This green part of the flower is called as the calyx. This green part of the flower is called as the calyx, this green part where I am touching. And the bottom green part, the thin one, this bottom one, the thick one over here at the top is the calyx. The thick one at the top is the calyx. And the thin one where I am touching here, this one, this part, this small part is the epicalyx. Epicalyx and then the calyx. We can just tear it off and we can see it. See the difference. See the difference between them. So this is the calyx and this part is the epicalyx. Let us just tear it minutely. Yeah, see. So try to feel the difference between the calyx and the epicalyx. So this part of the flower is the calyx. The green part of the flower is the calyx. This green part of the flower. This green part of the flower is the calyx. And this green part, the minute green part, thin one, the minute green part, this one, this part is the epicalyx. And this one is the calyx. So calyx and the epicalyx. Epicalyx is quite smaller and thinner as compared to that of the calyx. The calyx are also known as the sepals of the flower. They are usually green in color. The calyx are usually green in color. Green in color because they are having chlorophyll and they can make food for the flower. They are having the chlorophyll over here and they can make the food for the flower. This is the calyx. Now, coming to the bottom, this part of the flower is known as the pedicel or the peduncle. Either pedicel you say or peduncle, through which it is attached to the branch or the tree. The bottom part of the flower is called as the thalamus, where I am touching. This part, I think you can see, this is the thalamus of the flower, where all the floral parts is situated. Where all the floral parts of the flower is situated, that is the thalamus, and where the flower is attached to the main plant, that is the pedicel or peduncle. You can say pedicle also, you can say pedicel also, and we can say peduncle also. So this part through which it is attached to the branch, that is the peduncle, and the receptacle or the thalamus where all the floral parts, calyx, corolla, Androecium, Gynoeciym is situated. Now, when we have talked about calyx, there are two kinds of calyx found. Gamosepalous means where the calyx are fused, where the sepals will be fused, that is the gamosepalous. Polysepalous, where the sepals will be free, that is the sepals are free over here. That is free sepals. Now, gamosepalous, fused sepals, polysepalous, free sepals. When the sepals are fused, they are gamosepalous. When the sepals are free, they are polysepalous. Now, calyx, I think calyx you understood. This is the main part. Big leaves are the calyx. Smaller leaves are the epicalyx. At the bottom it is thalamus, where all the floral parts are situated. At this point to which the flower is attached to the plant, it is known as pedicel, pedicle or peduncle. So pedicel, pedicle or peduncle, the thalamus region, the epicalyx and the calyx. I think it's clear. Now next one is the corolla. The petals of the flower. The petals of the flower. This is the corolla of the flower. The petals of the flower. The petals of the flower is called as the corolla of the flower. This corolla of the flower will allow the flower to be very much colorful. Since the main part of the calyx is to generate food, because it is having chlorophyll, it will produce food for the flower and the food will be transported to the flower. This corolla's main function is to make the flower very much attractive so that the insect could come and sit for pollination. I think it's clear to you. Now, so how many petals are there? We can see one, then we will tier one by one. One petal, then the two, second one, then the third, then the fourth, and then the five. So in my hand now there are 5 petals of the flower. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Total 5 petals. Total 5 petals we are having. See, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So it is quite difficult to show 5 petals at a time, but yet I am trying. So three petals in my this hand and 2 petals in my right hand. 3 petals in the left and 2 petals in the right hand. So there are 3 petals and 2. Total 5 petals in the typical hibiscus flower. Now, when we are talking about corolla, similarly, like calyx also, corolla is gamopetalous and polypetalous. Means corolla is having gamopetalous, that is fused petals. When the petals are fused, when these petals will be fused, when these petals will be fused, then that is known as the gamopetalous, like this. When the petals are fused like this, then it is gamopetalous, fused petals. But during the starting of the class, I have shown the petals were free. They were freely attached. That time they are known as this condition of the flower, free, that is polypetalous. And when they are fused, this condition of the flower is known as the gamopetalous. So polypetalous and gamopetalous. I think it's clear to you. Now, talking about the male and the female reproductive part of the flower. When we are talking about the male and the female reproductive part of the flower, we can find, see, where I am touching with the marker, when I am touching with the marker, this part, or else with my index finger, it will be more better. This part is the male reproductive part. These all parts, the feathery. So these feathery structures is the anther. Means the anther is a bilobed structure. It's a bilobed structure, anther. Anther is having 2 parts in it. Mainly 2 parts. The male reproductive part is having anther, filament and connective. So this yellow part where it is, the anther. Where it is connected, that is the filament, and the connective is the medium which is connecting the anther and the filament. Now, the stamen, anther, filament and connective togetherly called as the stamen. Now what happens when this anther, filament and the connective togetherly called as stamen, we know. Now what happens? The anther is connected to the filament. The anther is connected to the filament, and anther and filament is connected by the smallest tissue known as connective. Now anther is the male reproductive part of the flower. Male reproductive part of the flower means the anther will produce the pollen grain. We can see yellow part, it has already become matured, means inside pollen is there. And if at all you will see in the garden also, the fresh anther, it will be bilobed, means it is still producing the pollen grain. Once the pollen grain will full in the anther, inside the anther, when the pollen grain is compactly packed or completely packed, that time the anther will burst and the pollen will be going out of the anther and it will go to the stigma. So this is the stigma. Now what I have said, anther, filament and connective togetherly called as the stamen. Anther is connected to the filament and anther both are connected by the connective. Now apart from this anther, whenever we are talking about the androecium means the anther, filament and the connective. Anther, filament and the connective together forms the stamen more biologically called as the androecium. Now there are condition. What condition? When it is polyandrous, free stamens will be there. When the stamen are having a condition of polyandrous, means stamens are free. When there will be a condition of monoadelphous means filaments fused but anthers are free. Means filament will fuse to form a tube and anthers will be free. So first condition was polyandrous where the stamens are free. Next condition is the monoadelphous where the filaments will be fused but the anthers are free. Now there is one more condition, diadelphous. In diadelphous what happens? The filaments will be fused together to form bundle, two bundles. Monoadelphous filaments will fuse to form a tube and anthers are free. Diadelphous filaments will be fused to form two bundles and anthers will be free. Polyadelphous filaments will fuse to form more than two bundles and again the anthers will be free. So monoadelphous filaments fuse to form a tube, anthers free. Diadelphous filaments fuse to form two bundles, anthers free. Polyadelphous filaments fuse to form many bundles, anthers are free. Now again syngenaceous, filaments free, anthers fused. Just opposite. Here in syngenaceous what happened? Filaments were free and anthers were fused. In synandrous what happens? Filaments and anthers both are fused. In synandrous what happens? Filaments and anthers both are fused. Now this is what about the male reproductive part. Now when we are talking about the female reproductive part of the flower, what happens? On peeling this side of the flower, see I'm peeling it, no? I'm peeling the bottom side of the flower. I am just peeling it. The bottom side of the flower, I am peeling it. And what we will find here is, we can find here the white part. This white part is the wall of the ovary. When we will peel the wall of the ovary like this from between, see, the outcome is inside the wall of the ovary, what we found? The ovary itself. Inside the wall of the ovary, we found the ovary itself. And can you see one thread-like structure also here? The thread-like structure, I'm slowly peeling it off. This is actually the style. At the top, stigma. Here it is the style, and this one is the ovary. So we can say this one is the stigma. The red one, what I'm showing, is the stigma. This one is the style, and this one is the ovary, the bottom one. The thread-like structure, what you can see now is the style. The red color part is the stigma and this is the ovary. So stigma is the female reproductive part which is knob-like shape, which is having a knob-like shape, where the pollen from the anther, these are the anther, yellow color one, these are the anther. When the anthers will burst, the pollen will go and sit into the stigma, and through the stigma, the pollen will go down. And from the style, it will slowly go to the ovary over here. So in the ovary, the plants are having the egg cells where the pollen will fertilize the egg cells and the fruit will form. I think it's clear to you. So in the gynoecium also the same thing. Monocarpellary when we are talking about means single carpel. Bicarpellary means two carpels. Monocarpellary means, what is carpal or pistil? Carpal or pistil means that, what is carpal? Carpal means the formation of the gynoecium. Means the gynoecium is having three parts: stigma, style and ovary. This part is the stigma, the thread one is the style, and the bottom structure is the ovary. So stigma, style and the ovary, the one which is hanging, this is the ovary. So what happens here is, the ovary consists of egg. Now what is carpal? Carpal is comprised of three parts: stigma, style and ovary. Similarly, like Androecium was having three parts, no? Anther, filament and connective. This one was the anther. The red one is the filament, and to which it is connected, anther and filament is connected, that is the connective. So what we understood, that stamen is known as Androecium. Similarly, carpal or pistil is known as gynoecium. Carpal consists of three parts. What are those three parts? Stigma, style and the ovary. Stigma, style and the ovary. It consists of three parts, that is the stigma, style and the ovary. So I think it is clear to you. Now what happens? Gynoecium, when it is monocarpal, Monocarpellary means having only single carpel, means only one stigma, one style, and one ovary we can see. And when it is bicarpellary, means more than one, means two stigma, two style, and two ovary we can see. Some part is also having the polycarpal. Some parts is also having the polycarpellary. Polycarpellary means more than two style, more than two stigma, and more than two ovaries are present. So I hope it's clear to you till here. Now, having said this till here, what we have found is there are two technical things. Some petals, they are looking like sepals, but they are petals. Though they are petals, they are looking like sepals, means they are green in color. They are known as sepaloid petal. They are known as sepaloid petals, means those plant which is having sepaloid petal, means though they are petals, but yet they are looking like sepals. That will attract the insect and it will also make the food for the flower. In some plants, what happens, the sepals and the petals, that is the calyx and the corolla, both are look-alike of each other. Both are look-alike of each other. We cannot distinguish very soon that this is calyx or this is corolla or this is corolla or this is calyx. At that condition, it is known as the perianth condition. So I guess it's clear to you. So please go through the text properly, match this term with the text, and see the video properly for the better explanation. And if any doubts, you can ask. I think it's clear to you. Thanks a lot.